Hello everyone, Alex here from warnoffkeys.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use continuous deployment using AWS CodePipeline and a React application. So the end goal here is whenever we push to the master branch of our React application under GitHub, we're then going to have AWS understand that, build our React application into a production mode, and then deploy that to a live S3 bucket so people can then use our React application. So you can still continue to do local development, of course, through other branches, but the master branch will be exclusively used for production-ready code. So to get started, I'm going to navigate into my folder here, and I'm going to create a React app using npx create React app, and I'm just going to call this app. Okay, now our React app is up and running. So I'm going to go ahead and make a GitHub repository for this. We can create a new repository. The repository name will be CI/CD demo. This will be a private repository. You guys won't have to clone this at all because it's just going to host our React application. We can click on create repository. I'm then going to navigate into the app folder, and I'm going to initialize our repository. I'm going to add everything. I'm then going to commit this. We'll just call this first commit. This is all pretty standard stuff. I'm just following the instructions here. We can copy these bottom two lines of code. Going to enter my passphrase, and everything should be being pushed to the repository. So if we refresh, we'll see all of our code here as expected. Now we want to go to S3, so log into your AWS account and click on create bucket. The name of this will be CI/CD Warnoff-Keys demo. You can name yours whatever you want. You have to have a unique name though. Click on create. We can navigate into the bucket we just created, and we'll see an empty bucket as expected. We can minimize our console for now. Go to properties, static website hosting, and this is going to enable this bucket to be actually used to host a static website. So we can click on this top option here, and our index document will be index.html. That'll be the same thing for our error document. We can click on save. We can go to permissions under block public access. We want to edit this. We want to uncheck this box, and this will allow all public access to actually be allowed onto our bucket so people can actually read the HTML files. We can click on save. We have to confirm this. We can then go to bucket policy. This is another place we have to actually specify public access. So I'm going to paste this in. You can find this in the video description though. We then have to copy our S3 bucket name, and we have to paste it right here in the ARN, which stands for Amazon Resource Name. This is just a unique identifier to specify this bucket. So we paste this in here. Obviously you'd paste in whatever your S3 bucket name is. We can then click on save. So it says this bucket has public access, and we see public here and here. Everything's looking good so far. We want to go to the course configuration, and I'm going to paste this in as well. Again, you can find this in the video description. Nothing to change here, so we can click on save. And our S3 bucket is now set up. So we can go to services, we can go to CodePipeline, open this in a new tab. We can then click on create pipeline. I'm going to name this CI/CD Warnoff-Keys demo tutorial. Everything else should remain the same. Name yours whatever you want. We can click on next. The source provider will be GitHub. This is where it's actually going to pull the code from, and because we use a GitHub repository, we're going to go ahead and use GitHub here. Click on connect to GitHub, and this will automatically close for me because I've already connected my GitHub account. You'll have to log in and actually connect your GitHub account. We now want to specify the repository, so we're going to select CI/CD demo, which is the name of the repository we created. We can select the branch, which will be master, and we want to keep GitHub webhooks enabled. Click on next. Now the build provider, this is going to be AWS CodeBuild, which is another AWS service that we'll be using. So we can select this, and we need to create a project. So click on this button here. It'll open a new window. We can expand this. The project name can be CI/CD demo, whatever you want to name it though. We scroll down to environment. We now need to specify the Amazon Linux server that it will be spun up whenever we push to our master branch. That way we actually have a server where we can build our code on, and Amazon handles all of this for us. We don't have to actually set up anything. But we do have to specify what type of server it is. So for the operating system, we can use Amazon Linux 2. The runtimes will be standard, and the image will be x86 standard 3.0. We can then scroll down further to build spec. This is going to be a YML file we include inside of our GitHub repository. It's going to specify some of the commands to actually run and build our code. So we have two options here. Use a build spec file. This is going to assume it's inside the repository. Alternatively, we could insert the build commands, click on switch to editor. We can enter our YML file here. However, we're going to choose the first option, but either one will work. If we scroll down, we can then continue to CodePipeline. So now it says we've successfully created the project in CodeBuild. We can click on next. We want our deploy provider. This is going to be where our code actually lives in the end. We want Amazon S3. We need to select our bucket, which will be CI/CD Warnoff keys demo. And then we want to click on extract files before deploy. And so this is going to essentially extract the files into the root directory of our S3 bucket, which is required for static website hosting. We can then click on next. This is just a review, so we can scroll down and click on create pipeline. So here we have the source, and so it's automatically being pulled from GitHub, and then it's going to try and build it, and this will fail because we have not specified a build spec YML file, but if it would work, it would then go to deploy, and that would then send it to the S3 bucket. So here we see it was successfully able to get it from GitHub, and then the build will fail here in a few seconds. And so it fails here as expected. If we click on details and then we click on link to execution details, we then see some logs and we see right here, the YAML file does not exist. So that's expected because we have not created one yet. So if we go into VS Code and we go to our console, we can create a file. So I'm going to make sure that I'm navigated inside of the app folder here. I'm going to right click and go to new file. We're going to call this buildspec.yml. So I'm going to paste this in here. You can find this in the video description, but I'm going to run through it real quick and what everything means. So the version is going to be the actual build spec version. This is just going to tell AWS exactly how to parse through this file. Keep that at 0.2. There are different phases we can listen to. In this case, we only want to listen to two of them. The first one is the pre-build. And in this exact case, we do not have access to our node modules on the Linux server. The reason for that is that they are inside of git ignore, which is best practice because we do not need to add those to the GitHub repository. And so the Linux server does not have access to them because it's pulling from the Git repository. So in order to get access to those, we can run npm install. Then after that, we move to the build phase. And here we just simply run npm run build, which is the predefined script for calling React scripts build, which will actually build our application into a production ready state. The next section is artifacts, and this is simply going to specify to include all of the artifacts or all of the files inside of the build directory, which is a directory that is created and used for the output of actually building our application. So essentially this is saying take all the production ready files and actually use those files. So if we save this inside of our console, we can run git status. We see one file is changed and that's build spec. We can run git add star, git commit -m, add build spec file, and then git push. I can enter my passphrase here. Okay, so now if we go back to AWS, we'll see the source is succeeded, but any second now it should change to in progress as it is right here. So it detected using GitHub webhooks automatically that something was pushed to the master branch. And so this is now going to pull that code. It'll try building, which should work this time. And then after that, it'll try deploying and it'll actually move it to the S3 website. So we see that it was successfully able to get it. And now it'll deploy here for a few seconds. Okay, so the build was successful and almost immediately afterwards, the deploy was successful as well. So if we go back to S3 and we click on refresh, we see all of our files here. We did not upload these manually. CodePipeline put them in there automatically. We can go to properties. We can go to static website hosting, and if we click on this endpoint right here, we should see our React application. So now if we were to make any other changes and push to the master branch, CodePipeline will automatically detect that because GitHub webhooks would tell it, and then it would automatically pull that code, try and build that code, and then deploy that code to this S3 bucket. Thanks for watching this AWS tutorial. If you need help or have a video request, be sure to leave a comment down below or ask in the Warnoff Keys Discord, which can be found in the video description. If you want to learn more about AWS, consider clicking on one of the videos you see on your screen now.